Howdy, Texans. My name is Brandon Burkhart, and I'm president of This Is Texas Freedom Force, a nonprofit organization that works on the preservation of Texas history, as well as works and fights for Texans' rights.
This is Texas Freedom Force. This is Texas Freedom Force.
Today I wanted to come to you guys with a message that concerns the Alamo Cenotaph and the Alamo itself. Many of y'all remember that in 2020, This is Texas Freedom Force were the ones that put 150 armed men out there and took on 5,000 BLM rioters and looters who had said they were going to threaten to burn the Alamo to the ground. Some of you also might remember us from our 4-year fight to save the Alamo Cenotaph, the empty tomb of our Alamo defenders. We put in thousands upon thousands of hours, attended over 80-something meetings each and every year to stop the city of San Antonio under the leadership of Mayor Ron Nirenberg, as well as District 1 City Council member Roberto Trevino, as well as Texas Land Commissioner George P. Bush, from trying to remove the Alamo Cenotaph. For those of y'all that don't remember our 4-year fight over the Alamo Cenotaph, the city and the GLO had decided that they wanted to move the Alamo Cenotaph to the south end of the plaza, off of the 1836 Battle of the Alamo footprint. This was not feasible simply for 2 reasons. Number one, the placement where they were going to put it at was actually going to be where the latrine was at the Alamo, which is disrespectful to our Alamo defenders. Remember, Santa Anna burned the bodies of the Alamo defenders so that they could not have a Christian burial. And so therefore to put that monument that stands for everything that they fought for, liberty, freedom, Texas, and to put it down where the latrine was is absolutely disrespectful. Secondly, TITFF had engineers come out in early 2018 to look at the Alamo Cenotaph because the city of San Antonio was claiming that there was a lot of destruction, a lot of wear and tear on it, and that's why that they needed to take it down to repair it, and then they were just going to move it while they were doing that. Now, we did this because they said that there was a rusted I-beam inside the Alamo Cenotaph. Of course, our blueprints that we got for the actual monument itself showed there was no I-beam whatsoever inside of the Alamo Cenotaph. But it also proved many other things, that trying to move a monument of that size would have pretty much guaranteed permanent damage if they had attempted it, which was the city of San Antonio under the leadership again of Ron Nirenberg. This was what they wanted all along. They wanted to take it down, say, oops, something broke, and then not be able to put it back up ever again. If you don't think that that's a feasible and plausible way of thinking about it, I refer you back to 2017, when back to the Travis Park Monument that sits in San Antonio downtown area. And that monument was removed in the dead of night while TITFF was actually helping Texans down during Hurricane Harvey. They decided to quickly move and remove it because we weren't in town to stop them. And so therefore they took it down. Well, guess what? They broke the butt of the gun on the monument. They broke the barrel of the gun on the monument. They took jackhammers to the base, which damaged the bottom of the base of the monument, which had stood since 1899. And the water that was flowing through the jackhammers actually destroyed a lot of the contents of the time capsule. So they don't have a good track record. And the Travis Park Monument is only a fourth of the size of what the Alamo Cenotaph is. Very, very small compared to what the Alamo Cenotaph is. It's very complex. Plus matching the marble, even if they could find somebody to try to recreate that, was almost impossible, seeing that that marble was cut back in the 1800s, the late 1800s. So we fought 4 years to save the Alamo Cenotaph. And as y'all well know, George P. Bush is now going to move on to bigger and better things, and he's challenging Paxton for the AG office. And all of y'all also know that George P. Bush is a big rhino. But we also have several other rhinos that are running for land commissioner out there. And when I say rhinos, I'm saying they're lying to Texans. Yesterday, Donna Buckingham, Senator Buckingham, put out a statement that she led the legal charge to stop the city of San Antonio from moving the Alamo Cenotaph. This is absolutely a false statement, and this is why. Again, nobody has spent more time working on the Alamo Cenotaph than our members and directors here at This Is Texas Freedom Force. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours that we spent over a 4-year period trying to stop the city of San Antonio and the GLO from removing the monument altogether. Donna Buckingham also included that she wrote legislation to help save the Alamo Cenotaph, and that she was the only one that passed it that's in this race. That is a false lie again. I mean, you can't, I'm just going to call it what it is, folks. It's a lie. Here's why. Y'all know we've been working on monument protection for the last 3 legislative sessions. The 85th legislature, the 86th legislature, and the 87th legislature. During the 87th legislative session, not one of our monument protection bills ever made it to the House floor or the Senate floor. Only one time did it get through the Senate floor, and that was back in 2019 during the 86th legislative session, but the House never took it up, so therefore it was never passed. So what legislation she's talking about is absolutely beyond me, because there has never been anything that would save the Alamo Cenotaph or to protect our monuments like she's claiming. And I'm going to put her statement up here so that way you guys can see this. So this is just an outright lie. This is politicians trying to take credit for the work that Texans, everyday average Texans, just average Joes, fought long and hard to save, which was our organization. And we also would like to point out that there are 2 candidates that worked alongside of us that are running for office right now, running for the General Land Commissioner's office, Dr. Tim Wesley and Weston Martinez. Others like Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, he was there, and he was speaking out on behalf of not moving the Alamo Cenotaph during our fight to save the Alamo Cenotaph as well. So these are the only 3 candidates that are running that were there. Donna Buckingham was not. But yet she's claiming and trying to take credit for the work that every average day Texans did. It's wrong. It's a lie, and it needs to be called out. Now, there was a House representative that we'd like to mention, Representative Kyle Biederman, that filed several Alamo bills in the 86th and the 87th legislative session to try to stop the city of San Antonio from moving the Alamo Cenotaph. These bills did not get passed because the rhinos didn't want to help support Representative Biederman on this. I just spoke to Representative Biederman by phone a little while ago, and I asked him about some of this stuff to see if there was anything that we might have missed, which I didn't think there was, but just wanted to double check before we put out this video. Representative Biederman said that he asked Senator Buckingham to sign on to his Alamo bill several times in the 87th legislative session, and she never signed on. So everything that you just read from her statement is an absolute false, and Texans, you need to call her out for it. This is absolutely bogus. This is our problem, is we get politicians in here that think that the people of Texas are just dumb and they're not going to follow through and keep up with everything. But when you start messing with the Alamo and the Alamo Cenotaph, and when you start messing with a project that This Is Texas Freedom Force led for 4 years, it becomes very personal to us really, really quickly. So on my second one, I want to talk to you guys about is there is another candidate who's running for General Land Commissioner that is claiming to be a big grassroots candidate and all this other good stuff, Victor Avila. This man is claiming that he's, some kind of superhero for the grassroots and all this other stuff, and he's got a great story if you listen to it, but he also endorsed George P. Bush. I'll let you guys see this. Now you guys know George P. Bush is the biggest rhino other than Dan Patrick and, of course, Greg Abbott here in the great state of Texas. You guys already know this. He was booed off of the convention floor. He's been booed at many, many rallies where we've spoken to Texans about monument protection. So Victor decided he was going to endorse George P. Bush. If that doesn't tell you that he's part of the establishment, I don't know what does. Folks, it is real simple. We made a few phone calls right after this endorsement was put out. And mind you, this is to his office. It wasn't a campaign manager or Victor Avila in person that said this. But the first phone call that we made, Victor Avila's people said, oh, no, this was just a mistake. He did endorse George P. Bush, but then he came back later and rescinded his endorsement of George P. Bush. Folks, this endorsement has been up for months, and it was only rescinded whenever we brought this to the attention of the Texans here in the great state of Texas. Now, all of a sudden, it's off of George P. Bush's website. His name has been taken off of there as an endorser. Wonder why that happened. Had we not been able to call this out, then his name still would have been on there and nobody would have known any of the different. Because most people aren't paying attention to George P. Bush. But we've had a second person, a second member of This Is Texas Freedom Force, make a call for us later on that evening, asking the same exact question that we asked the first time. And we got a completely different answer. The second time, when our member called called Victor Avila's office, came out and said, oh, well, they're a member of the Republican Latinos, blah, 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 something other, together, George P. Bush and Victor Avila. And they just automatically assumed that they were endorsing each other, and so therefore that's why his name got put on George P. Bush's site, and yada, yada, yada. So two questions, the same exact questions, two different answers. Folks, you don't get another candidate running for office or even a House representative or a senator that's sitting to say that they endorsed you without going to that person and actually speaking to that person, because you can get in a lot of trouble for it. And not only that, it could have a lot of backlash on your campaign. So Victor Avila did endorse George P. Bush. It just wasn't until he was caught that he rescinded that endorsement, just so that he could try to hide. But it goes even further than that. At the Save Texas rally that was up in the Capitol, we had another supporter of ours talking to Victor Avila, and just by chance, he tells him, oh, I'm not really worried about the General Land Commissioner race because I've got a big donor behind me. I've got deep pockets, and so I'm in this till the end. I'm not really concerned about that. Y'all want to guess who that big donor is? George P. Bush. Texas, we've got a rhino problem big time here in the great state of Texas. We have got to clean house and to put in representatives, senators that are going to listen to the people of Texas and fight for us instead of fighting for the lobbyists and the establishment that has the money. That's why we're in the shape that we are in today, is because of that. We have got to rally around our grassroots candidates, and the legit grassroots candidates, and not the ones that are pretending to be. I'm sorry, but Donna Buckingham, Victor Avila are part of the establishment as far as we're concerned. Simply because you don't go around lying, and we take a very big offense when it comes to talking about the Alamo, simply because, again, we put in thousands upon thousands upon thousands of man hours fighting for the Alamo Cenotaph and defending that the Alamo Chapel. Texans, I implore you to get the facts. We wanted to put this statement out because everybody knows that we led the charge on the Alamo Cenotaph. We had good help from Representative Biederman, from Weston Martinez, Dr. Tim Wesley, Alan West, Dr. Alma Arnando, and others. But Don Buckingham was MIA, Victor Avila was MIA, and all the other land commissioner candidates that were out there that said that they're going to save the Alamo, etc., they were MIA as well. And so I wanted you guys to hear this from our mouth, and I'm sure that you're going to be hearing from a couple of others involved in this that are running for office here pretty soon, or hold office, and they'll be putting out their statements here shortly as well. So God bless Texas, and I hope this helps you guys.
This is Texas Freedom Force. This is Texas Freedom